every turn.
Yeah,
So,
isn't it?
the first thing I want to cover is pay this year. We're sticking with the tiered pay concept. The reason for that allows us to get back to having standards, making sure that we have people that are performing and understanding that this is a job, respecting it as such, and performing those aspects of an actual job. Again, I'm probably preaching to most of the choir that's currently here today, but understanding that we have a responsibility as officials to put forth the best effort, look the part, set the games in a timely manner, and act accordingly when we're out on the ball field. This gives the incentive to do those. And also, for you veterans, typically we're looking at the top, our higher tiers. This is incentivizing you and putting the onus on you to impart your knowledge, rules, mechanics, and understanding of the game. You should be teaching those that you're working with. Does that make sense to everybody? We go back one here. Mm-hmm. So, at the 75-minute game tier limit, our top tier is $40 a game. This is now done my research and trying to make sure that everywhere I'm in the Kansas City metro area, for the three associations, USA, U-Trip, as well as Perfect Game, are paying the same at this level and this time. So the only difference is the time limit varies by like 4 minutes. So $40 is pretty much the going rate. So that way, again, you have the same expectation that when you go and you work for another organization as you have to work for us, and you have that understanding that nobody's going to be bidding more, because at the end of the day, where we're sitting at, as an industry whole, this last year was really, really hard. And organizations thought that the answer was to just pay more for the officials to recruit them away. It's what are you going to do at the ballpark, and how you're going to make a difference in retaining officials, as well as putting efforts towards recruiting and development of new officials. And that being said, this is where we landed, and hopefully we can keep that as going rate moving forward where everybody's on the same page. Does that make sense to everybody? 90-minute time limit. Sorry. As you can see, our Tier 1 is the same as it was last year with regards to who falls into Tier 1. Is anybody that is a 2022 official that has never officiated softball before in their life falls into that tier. And what I will say is what we're covering today, there's going to be some topics that will be applicable to Top Gun as well, but 90% of what we're covering today, unless we're specifically saying Top Gun, this is all pertaining to what Perfect Game is talking about. Okay? When you work for Perfect Game, the rules, the expectations, etc. People get confused because I assign both Top Gun and Perfect Game events. However, they're completely different companies, and we are competitors on some weekends. That makes sense? Pay process remains the same for Perfect Game. If you're in here, everybody again has worked with Perfect Game this past year. The process has not changed. It's still direct deposit the Wednesday after the event, and if there is an error or for some reason there is a delay in pay, it gets hit on the Friday after the event. Usually, again, with last year being the first year, it was working through the kinks and understanding how that process works. It's pretty clear cut now. We don't have any issues, but if there is an issue with the system, I'm able to communicate that to everyone and say, hey, it's not coming Wednesday, it'll be coming on Friday, and give you that heads up on Monday after the event. Talking about team sign-up schedule. This is, last year we started this process where we got the team sign-up on Friday. That actually has even accelerated shortly a little bit, and what I mean by that is the grid typically for the upcoming week is given to me on Friday before the tournament, a week before the tournament will start. Okay? It's not that we have the tournament scheduled one full week beforehand. So my commitment, as long as we're talking about when you're putting your assignments in and we have enough officials to cover the event, is to have the assignments sent out on referee schedule to all of you the Monday, by end of the day, Monday of the week of. So if you guys get your schedule sooner, you're able to have that understanding of what you want to work, what you're able to work, and then we're locked in. Everybody good with that? This is a big one for me. These last two bullet points, submit availability at minimum 1 week in advance. Probably more talking to the recording here. But that being said, that gives me the ability to understand where we're at for that upcoming weekend. So in an ideal world, I shouldn't have to send a call or send a text or send out that mass referee schedule email where it says, hey, we're 30 officials short for next weekend, which everyone here got those last year, and I don't want to have that problem again. But it's the reality of the situation. There's a lot of people that are available, but we just weren't used to the system. We weren't used to this group. You can go in and put your availability in anytime in the meetings. I just ask since at least 1 week. So it gives me an idea of where I sit and what I need to do to make sure the event's coming. The second aspect is assignments accepted 48 hours after release. So if I'm committing to getting them to you by Monday night, as long as, again, we have enough people to cover the event, then I'm going to be pinging you on Wednesday afternoon if I haven't seen them. You've accepted them and just say, hey, are you still good to go with those games? Because then it puts the pressure back on me if you have to turn it back and say, hey, well, now I have 2 days potentially to find a replacement. So, again, accept them as soon as you see them. Log in, go to the personal tab. This is how you're going to actually open up availability and show it. The drop down will go to my availability, select my availability. We'll bring up the calendar view of the current month, and everything will be red. Everything about this system that I like is that you are defaultly not available until you actually go in and open up dates. Meaning I won't see that you're even an option to assign until you go and open them up. That's a difference than Arbiter with some of our high school officials that do that as well, used to that system. So you go, select the date that you actually want to work or want to open up to potentially be scheduled. You click that numbered date. And the 2 things that you care about on the next screen are you available all day or are you available part of the day? All day will be defaultly selected. If you need to change that to a partial day schedule, you can do that. And then obviously change those factors there and then click Add. Once you do so, if you're available all day, again, it turns to green. Partial day, it'll change it to yellow. One thing I had to print off and I've sent it out is our full spring summer schedule. I've broken it down. I'll send the most updated copy this week just because we ran out of printed copies yesterday. You'll be able to see what our heavier weekends are or what our weekends are like. Hey, should I go work another association? Should I take this weekend off and do something fun with my family? Whatever the case may be, you can kind of plan accordingly with what you want to work. Yes.
So what is you consider a heavy weekend? What was the number of umpires that you scrambled last year?
So Reggie just for the ask of what I would consider a heavy weekend and when I would scramble or how many umpires that I needed, that actually has a weekend breakdown of how many fields we will use based off of our current numbers and how many umpires is my goal number of umpires to secure for that weekend. If I have to secure 50 or more officials, that's a heavy weekend for me. The heaviest weekend is our Top Gun Invitational. Again, that's an elite event. I need 100 officials for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And that way no one's killing themselves. What I want and what my biggest goal every year is that, hey, can we work more in 3-man rotation? Hey, can people not have to work 8 games in a row? But what that does in that printout, and again, I'll resend it out just because we ran out of hand copies, is it breaks it down on by weekend, and it says how many fields, it says my number of officials. And we actually sat down on Monday, went through that, audited what our current team registrations and were realistic with our goals. Because the biggest thing that Perfect Game understands is if we have an influx of teams late in the game, that puts me in a huge bind because that's more fields that I had to cover that I didn't anticipate. I can reduce, and it's a lot easier to reduce than it is to expand and try and have a need last minute. So, what it looks like when you get your email, one thing that I will say with referee schedule, most everybody here, I believe, has their picture on it, but talking to the masses, please put your picture on referee schedule. Put a professional picture on referee schedule, because when you go to the ballpark, it's really, really unprofessional, or it's really difficult when you walk in and it's a group of people that are changing. You're like, hey, who's Bill? Which one of you is Bill Myers? And they may not even be there at that time. So that way you know it's more personal because you're going to be working with that person throughout the day. You might as well know what they look like going forward. Also, when you get this email, assign later, most of the time that's going to have your partner, but But once you accept the game, you'll be able to click your partner's information or their name, and it'll show their information so you can reach out to them and communicate before the day. Hey, let's wear this. That way you're not plugging in extra stuff that you don't have to plug in. Make sure that color is actually clean that day. And hey, this is when we're going to do here's where our rotation is going to be. Sound good? Then you can accept the individual games. Let's say your availability changed for some reason throughout the week. Before you were able to contact me before I sent out the assignment, you can accept each game individually and say, hey, Austin, I can do the first 3 games that day, but I had something pop up the afternoon. I can't get out of it. Sounds good. But if you have to change that availability or you can't do games that you've been assigned, just ping me and then I'll make those changes. Everybody good with that? Or you can set all at the top. And there's that option. One thing that I did learn is referee schedule doesn't have an app yet, which it didn't have it last year, but there is a way to put that on your home screen of your smartphone. And if you are interested in doing that, just so you have easy access, more than welcome. I'll show you guys after we get done here today. Somebody had to do it for me on my phone because I didn't think it was an option. Thanks. All right, Steve.
I can only talk for 5 minutes.
Yeah, right.
Most of you guys have umpired before, so it's pretty much the same thing.
Steve.
Oh, I'm sorry. Navy and blue shirts. Make sure that you get the powder shirt that's like this with the dark blue and white on it. Polos, you got to match your partner. Don't one go out in dark and one go out in light. Black PG hats. If you do a Top Gun, you can't wear the PG. Okay, so gray umpire slack, black ball bags, 1 or 2 are only to be worn behind the plate. You don't go wearing them out on the field. Black belt, mostly black shoes. This year they let you have some white on it, and black socks, which isn't up there. Some guys like to wear anklets. Don't wear anklets. Okay? Any question on that?
Question?
Yep.
Do they have a 4-stitch hat?
There is
4-stitch plate hat.
Yes, 4, 6, and 8.
Well, the reason I asked that question because, you guys know me as a service section. I've never heard of anything what you guys are doing. And so when I decided to do with you guys, I just wanted to have 4-stitch hat.
They do.
They have better stock.
The shirts are unadorned. They do not have PG logo shirts at this time, so it's just your shirt that you're either college or high school, but can't have your high school patch on.
And please make sure, especially if you're wearing light blue, please make sure they're clean, especially if you're doing a 3-day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You don't wear the same damn shirt for 3 days in a row, because it turns brown after a while, and you've lost all credibility when you walk out on a field with a dirty uniform.
Okay, wait a minute, so the white and blue polo can that have, it can be what we, for high school, we just can't have a patch. Is that correct?
Excuse me?
So the white and blue one, it's the same as for high school?
It's the exact same as high school and the old college uniform. Just make sure you don't have your patch
Those
on.
don't have a patch, okay.
And I'm less concerned about the patch. It's your high school assigner may not be happy if you're wearing the patch. The only thing to highlight from Steve's part that's on there, if you're a college official, it is permissible to wear the new shirts if you match your partner.
And the other thing is, women can wear the visor, guys can't. Make sure it's a baseball hat.
And since we're independent contractors, it's really, really important that when you purchase these things, that you keep track of it, keep your receipts, because that writes off and that's less taxes you're going to have to pay. So, if you buy a pair of black socks or you buy anything, keep a record of that.
Shoe polish, anything you buy that, keep your uniform and stuff. So
is PG going to have a better stock of the hats and stuff this year, or are they still going to be? not always available.
Everything's in stock. A lot of last year's supply issues had to do with everybody's supply issues
Right.
with shipping. So right now, both sizes of hats. I looked last week. Both sizes of hats and styles of hats were in stock.
Can you send us that link again for the
Yep.
discount hats?
And the only other thing I would say, when you get my hat, make sure that you can take your mask off without your hat coming off with it. Practice in front of a mirror if you can. Or go down to a 4-stitch. Some guys try and wear a 6 or an 8 behind them and they can't get that off and their hat flies off and leaves. So other than that, it's pretty much the same as last year. Any more questions? Okay, the other thing I want to talk about is pregame. A lot of guys don't do pregame.
We don't have time.
Pardon?
We don't have time.
That's not a good excuse.
Well,
Yeah,
we
it's
have
not
time
good.
to walk. We have time when we're walking to the field.
That's not time. You've got to do a pregame sometime before you go out on the field. If you don't know what you and your partner are going to cover. Okay, you can go, when you're walking to field 28 or whatever, say, here's what I do.
Yeah.
I got all fair foul, fly balls to the outfield, I take the lead runner unless it's first play by an infielder. Do not go out on a fly ball down the line.
I thought you meant sitting down and having a pregame.
But there are a lot of guys that don't do anything, okay? And so now you got 2 guys looking at a fly ball to the outfield. And nobody watching a batter runner on first base. The other thing I'd have to say is, you don't go on the field by yourself. You go on with your partner. Okay? So if your partner's running a little bit behind, you go out together. You're a team. You go on together and you come off. On the mechanics, make sure you read up on your mechanics, both behind the plate and what's your base. Something I learned is a mechanic that I didn't think was allowed. In college, you can run past first base, turn around and come right down the line before you hit first base. You can break towards second, even if the runner is in or the pitcher is in the rubber in the circle. Okay, I didn't think you could do that. In PG, Austin slapped me side the head, said, "Nope, that's an allowable." So if you're on U1, you have to watch that runner go all the way down and come all the way back and settle on first base. Don't give up on her. Okay, any questions on that?
Doesn't matter which way they turn around to come back straight to first base.
Yep, if they turn to the infield, they commit to second. If they turn foul, they commit to first. This, you walk right down the line and turn right down and come right back down the line. Okay? You don't commit either way.
No matter which way she turns.
Her step is what matters.
Right.
If she takes a step towards foul,
Right.
But let's
She
say
commits
she's
to
running
first
down
base.
The line, standing on the line, pivots.
she can
To the
come.
foul side, circles around, goes straight back. She can still go to second.
Yep.
Unless she turns. and
Unless she
goes
makes
to
a big
the
move.
foul. Yeah.
But if she just pivots, she
Yep.
can go straight back.
It's your job as an umpire to deem, did she make an attempt?
Did
or
she give up, or
turn? But if she's going straight down, straight back, make an attempt also, if she turns 2 steps in,
Yeah, that's
then she's made an attempt second.
No,
If she
she's
turns
not.
2 steps out.
Yeah.
Plate umpire can help out tremendously. That's why you take your mask off, you walk 3 to 4 steps down, and you stand still and you keep your eye on it until she's back standing on the base.
As a plate umpire, that's your primary responsibility. Is watch for swipe tack, pull foot, and bobble ball. That's your primary responsibility on a runner going to first base. Getting to third base is a secondary responsibility. Other than that, mechanic, make sure you read your rule book. Austin spent a lot of time on it. For guys that do college, it's pretty much the college rules. There are some, but if you're doing a roster batting, you have to take a lineup. There's no excuse to say, "Coach, I know you're batting roster, I'm not taking a lineup." Don't do it. You gotta have it, because you can have batting out of order, an incorrect sub for a courtesy runner, and then, if you go extra innings like you be, you gotta put the right person out there. So don't just tell a coach, "No, we're not gonna do it." So any questions on anything? That's it.
Also asked me to talk a little bit about professionalism and communication. My apologies for my voice. I don't know, since yesterday it's gone away. One of the things, if you guys, most of you have been at parks that I've been to UIC at, what you're going to see from me is the day before you're going to get a fairly lengthy text that says, hey, Gary Wheeler, I'm the UIC at Legacy. I see you're working at this park. I'd really like for you to be there 45 minutes in advance. Austin says 30 here, and basically what that means is you're inside the park and you've already checked in with me. The reason I say 45 minutes in advance is because I'm one of those guys, it takes me a while to get dressed. All right, so finding where we're at. What I'm also going to tell you is, hey, I got a tent for you today. Here's where we're going to be. So you should get communication from me and all the other UICs about this is where we're at. If you have a discrepancy or concern, then you need to it's real easy, flip that back. The other thing is, if you're not on the first game and you're on the second game, I'm going to say, hey, please try to show up an hour before if you're not working the first game. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about, we're going to try to have an umpires meeting 20 minutes before the first game. And the reason I do that 20 minutes is that keeps me short, so I won't be rambling on. And then when we get done with that, you can leave and go to the field 10 minutes before the game's first start. One thing that I saw last year that concerned me a little bit was, and I know it's hard, but we need to, as adult men, think about where we're at. We are working a game with young ladies and girls. I've seen people go straight down to their underwear in our little umpire room. If you're going to get to that point, just go into the restroom and change. Most of us wear spandex. Most of us wear slider shorts or something like that. Just think about where you're at when you're changing and what we're doing. And that's hard because it's just kind of like high school and college. We don't get a locker room most of the time. We're dressing in a doggone parking lot. So sometimes, hopefully, when I try to do, I see if somebody's not providing a tent, I'm trying to bring one for myself with a couple of sides on it so we can stay hidden a little bit. However, the last tournament we had last year, my 2 tents, I left at 12 o'clock at night, wasn't a breeze one. Well, I came back at 5:30 the next morning, and my tents looked like a bulldozer ran over them because the wind started blowing. So I'm going to have to use that purchasing power as tax write-offs before the season starts. As Austin says on here, we're going to try to start game 10 minutes early when we can. However, we're not going to rush them. We're here working for them. That's our job. We're here working for them. We're ready. Let's try to get them rolling. But if they're not ready and they just got done with the game, a lot of times they're playing back to back. So, the coach is sitting over there trying to get lineup cards. Hey, coach, you ready? How much longer are you going to need? You can also ask them if you're leaving, if you know they're staying on the field. I've done that before. Hey, how much time you need? We'll be back. And he says 10 minutes and I'll be ready. Then go get changed out. We'll be back as soon as we can. Austin states on here that we as umpires should make sure that we write our names on the game card. So you write Banks, Majors. Banks or Majors, Wheeler, Townsend, whatever. And so if we have a situation and we turn it into the tournament director and a coach comes up and says, hey, that score's not right, or we got an issue here, then we need to come back and find out who you are because you might have switched fields or something. My theory on this one is, and I've worked with a lot of different people that do a lot of different ways, in my opinion, the base umpire should keep the game card. The plate umpire has enough stuff going on. A lot of coaches are going to come in and they're going to make changes. They're going to pitching changes. You're worried about recording conferences. You're worried about recording warnings or whatever. But then we can have 2 people with papers and pencils out there that can write stuff down if we have a situation occur. So the base umpire, take your lineup card holder out, put that card in there. Make sure you're doing it. I also recommend doing it at least once an inning instead of waiting to the 7th inning and then having to go over and ask the coach. And the reason I say that is we got a situation where we make a call that ends a game. Or the game ends, it's because of an out or a save, and somebody might not be very happy. Do you want to go back and say, now what did you have as the final score? You know, and the other thing about it is you're going into the top of the 7th inning or the top of the 5th inning, you know, hey, this is a 4-3 ball game. So if this run scores, we're done. So you're aware of the situation. And I also sometimes come in and report, hey, we're at 4-3 right now, to tell the plate umpire what we got going on. Top of 4-3. I don't know about you guys behind the plate, but I can't always keep track of how many innings we got going on or what's going on.
The other thing on that is, about every 2 or 3 innings, I check with both books, make sure one team doesn't have 5 runs and the other doesn't have 4. Make sure you get that correct.
And once you check that, if there's a situation, it goes to the home team, but we need to try to reconcile that so we're good there.
Can I say one thing about the game cards?
Go ahead.
Suggestion, as a site director, if you're going to have the base umpire take care of that card, make sure that you got the final score on that card and that you bring it to me or whoever is the site director so I don't have to run all over hell trying to find it. Because sometimes the teams have left and you got to call them on the phone to find out what's going on. Because we have to put it in the computer. So if you decide, okay, the base umpire is going to take care of that, even though you have to walk over and sign it, please, whoever is the site director, take it to them because they're going to put it in the computer and make it a lot easier for us. Thank you.
Exactly. The other thing we talk about is just professionalism. And it really comes with communication and being open. Understanding who we are. What we are, we're independent contractors that are working a job for girls, for these young ladies. We're not the show. You know, we're out there and we're going to make sure that we're going to do the best job we can for you. And that's one of the things I will tell them in a pregame, and I even do this at the college level. Coaches, we're here for you and your gals. We're going to do the best job we can. If you have questions, come talk to me in a respectful manner, and then we'll work together to get it right. Any questions? And never once have I had, other than one coach at Mo West would make fun of me when I say it, but never have I had anybody question when I say it. The thing about it is, we need to understand, you know, when we're on the field, and I'm talking, I don't need to say this to you guys because I've watched all you guys work. When you go out on the field, your shirt's tucked in. Your hat's not turned backwards. You look the part. You get 5 minutes before the time, have a brush and brush your play shoes off. Look the part. Try to look the best you can. And I know it gets hot and it's not easy, you know, but we got to do the best we can. There's not many places in this world where you can get a part-time job that pays you every bit of $30 an hour that you can pick your schedule. Because you can pick your schedule. You don't have to go if you don't want to. Don't put your availability in there. But keep in mind that there's going to be emotions in this game. And if we are the professionals and we take the emotion out of it, and we understand that we're doing a job, then everything gets easier. You got that coach come running up there. If I want to yell back at him, we're probably going to have trouble. But one of the things I'll say is, hey, hold on. Come up and talk to me in a respectful manner. Remember, I'd ask you that at the first of the game. And if they don't want to, then this conversation's over. You know, we need to understand that. We also need to understand at times that we're going to work with a variety of different partners. Some that you enjoy working with, some that you don't enjoy working with. You have to be able to figure out a point where you can say, I can make it through and we can get this together. If you get into a situation where you just can't work with somebody, then that's a text to Austin and say, hey, or when you leave the park, at the end of the day, you say, Gary, you know what, today was tough for me. Is there any way that we could switch fields and I don't have to work with Steve, you know, or can I work with Steve, you know? It's all about making sure that we put the best product out there. So if Stan and I are struggling as partners, then we're probably not putting the best product out on the field. So make sure that you're just working it. Then how do you present yourself? When a coach comes up and talks to you, you know, are you here? Are you here? You know, figure out how you're going to talk to that coach. One of the things that I'm going to do is when a coach comes out and asks me a question, I'm going to make that coach talk to me to the field. I'm going to get on his inside, and I'm going to work to his inside because he or she is talking to me, and the fans behind don't hear anything he says. If I'm over here against the fence, and he or she's talking to me, then what's that dad that I'm an athletic director, or I've been a high school coach for 27 years, what's that dad going to say? You're right, he's right, you're wrong, you're wrong. So the conversation is between me and the coach, not me and the coach and the 47 fans out there. You know, and they're going to have stuff on that. The next thing I will say is be really, really careful, especially the later you get into a tournament and how much conversation you have with fans or idle conversations you have with coaches. We want to be presentable or approachable. We want to be cordial, but we also have to understand that that can turn that fast, especially with fans. And as Austin said yesterday, the less you say, the less they can quote.
So you are suggesting that we do not talk, not do not, but you prefer we don't chit chat?
I'd say, you know, you can have conversations with them, but the idle chit chat and making jokes kind of thing that some people do, you're just asking for trouble. In my opinion, you're just asking for trouble.
The other thing with that, when you do that, you're not watching what's going out on the field. You're not watching how many pictures that picture's taken. Okay? How many batters they have all warming up, those type of things are all your responsibility. The other thing I would say is if the coach comes out and you're wearing sunglasses, get your sunglasses off. Okay?
Now, the higher you get up, they will tell you, don't you wear those, you're not wearing those sunglasses.
They don't go up on your hat.
On the plate, yeah.
So
You hold them in your hand.
the other thing is and this group here, I work with every one of them, and I've seen you work, and be a sponge. I worked for multiple years, not half as long as Steve has, but we still have multiple conversations about plays, about situations. And I will also tell you, you can be a sponge one of two ways. You can learn a lot about what to do. You can learn a lot about what not to do. And I can watch that guy, and I can say, but if I'm learning what not to do, then that's not a conversation with anybody else other than myself. I don't go to Steve and say, did you see what Sean just did? That's nonsense, you know, because we're a team, and I've seen guys do that. You know, I'm at UIC, and I'm riding around in a golf cart, and my goal is not to get off the golf cart all day long. No, not really. You guys know me better than that. But I'm on a golf cart, and I've got an umpire, and this happened last year. An umpire told me, go watch her. She's doing this. And I looked right at the guy, and I said, she's working the plate, right? Yeah. You're working U3. You need to worry more about U3 than you need to be about the plate umpire, because you got plenty of things you need to take care of over here. You know, if we want to have conversations in a post-game conference, that's fine. But we're not going to be stabbing people in the back and trying to get them in trouble. You know, now if it's an egregious thing that is affecting the game, then we need to know so we can have a conversation. But it's just to tell somebody that they're not covering or doing this or that. Because I'm not coming to Stan and saying, Stan, we're not doing this. You know, in between a game, we may talk about it after the game. So we as UICs are here to support you. We want to help you work. We're going to do the best we can. And again, last year was great. We had a lot of people that worked really hard and did above and beyond. But then there are some people that need to think about the fact that, you know what, I've got a part-time job that I'm making $30 an hour for, and I need to be held to the highest standard I can. And that's preparing and being ready. Questions? Anybody have questions at all? Thoughts?
I would say, when I call Gary and I call Austin all the time, they try not to answer my phone calls. But I always, if I have a question on a rule, then I'll call. Y'all can call me, but the first thing I'm going to say is, where'd you look it up in the book? If you haven't looked it up, then you haven't done your share of that. So, if you're having problems with the rule, give me a call, and I'll be more than happy to do it. But make sure you have some information before you do it.
Anything you want to add to that also before we go?
Just a few things. One thing, silence can't be quoted, and that is in all aspects of life, but it's extremely important in officiating. And we've hit on the social dynamic of what society is today. But that's extremely important, because what I want to hit on is your partner on field, while you are on the field doing the game, is your only ally. So that's what it's saying, that if you could know coaches because you've been around this game long enough and they've been coaching long enough, that's perfectly fine. It happens. But that doesn't change how I talk to them when I'm on the field or when I get off the field. It's in between games. If they want to talk to me, that's fine, or if it's a period where I'm not officiating. If they ask me where I'm from in an invitational event, those kind of passing things, it's perfectly fine. But the passing comments or thinking that it's a joke, well, they may seem on your side at that moment. But as soon as you make a play or you call a call that does not go their way or that they don't agree with, that comment or that joke that was perceived as funny at that time is no longer perceived as funny. They missed that call because they weren't concentrated on what they were doing and what their job was. Well, now that seems like an off-collar joke when that was not the intent at all in that concept. So just be hyper aware of that. One of my biggest concepts it scares me on any field that I am ever on is when the catcher backs up into me when I'm the plate official, or when I go and I'm behind the plate and I'm going to trail first base, or I'm going out on a fly ball and I accidentally bump into the catcher on my way outside of the box. Those are things we have to be hyper aware of as individuals and adults that are doing this game, and keep those in your toolbox and keep that on your mind. Second thing with assigning, believe it or not, I'm not the assigner that takes names, cuts them up, puts them in my hand, and just sees where they throws it up and sees where they fall. There is some method to my madness occasionally in why I put people with certain people. There may be times where a lot of people in this room, or if you're a veteran watching this, I put you with an official that needs more effort, that is an official that needs more coaching, or that may be challenging for you personality-wise. Believe it or not, there are times where I want you to impact that person, talk to that person, and see how either you react to that situation or they react to that situation. I'm never going to put you in a situation where it's harmful or where it's, unprofessional, those kind of things, and that can be communicated to me. That's not what I'm getting at. But there is times where I'm going to put people in challenging situations because it tells who we are as people and it tells who we are as officials. Everybody got that?
Got it.
And what's the goal? We're going to be working with younger officials. If they're working their hardest and doing their very best, that's all you can ask them. How many times have you made a call and you look back and thought, I thought I knew what I was doing, but I need to go back and review this. I do it a lot. I'll make, have situations, and I go back. First thing is, I'm going to be looking at a rule book and find out, hey, what should I have done, or the mechanics? Should I have covered that fly ball, or should Steve have covered that one? So, a lot of people that are getting out there, they don't have formalized training. So they're learning on the fly. If they're hustling and doing their best, that's all we can ask.
And know that I'm seeing what we need from a training perspective and putting those things out there and working with those people, the people that are sticking around and having that retention. And I'm going to hit on, just some of those issues later on. But the last thing that on the concept that we just covered is game cards need to be signed. And that's something we started last year, and it has to be an emphasis this year. The only exception to getting a coach's signature on a game card after the game is if you had an issue with that coach, then you can walk off the field and let the UIC know, and the UIC will get the signature. I'm never going to expect you to go into the situation where you don't feel comfortable getting the signature. But the reason for that, and this is me on one of my soapboxes, is I fell on that sword about 15 times this past season. On the site directors not having the correct score, we go into bracket play, and the wrong team is getting up at 8 a.m. And the other team that doesn't think they played till noon is having to get called at midnight and saying, hey, we need your girls here at 7:30 a.m. for the 8 a.m. game, or else you're going to forfeit. That doesn't go over well. And the reason why that we have this signature concept is baseball doesn't have that problem. They didn't have it once last year. It's because they do the signatures after the game, because they have pitching report too, or they used to. That's the reason for it. Make sure the game cards are right. It shouldn't be an issue. And again, what that brings to us as the field official is we now have a reason and a writing utensil to mark when things happen during the game. I can make notes on the back of my card. I can say, I gave the coach a warning in the first inning. This is why. This is what they said. All this stuff that serves as record keeping and clerical for us.
You want both coaches, just the winning coach?
Ideally, we would like both coaches.
Okay, so bring it up in your pregame.
Yeah.
Before you guys run off, I need to make sure that I got your signature.
But all right, let's go ahead and get into some of the new information just for this year. The first is we have our own rule book now. It's extremely important how we're going to lead the way with the sport and how, from an officiating program, we're expecting people to know the rules, have an understanding of what we're playing by, because nothing was worse than saying, well, what's the rule on this? Well, the addendum didn't have anything on it. Now I've got to go purchase the high school rule book, figure out where we sat on that, and it was a pain. It was a pain for the coaches, too, because they didn't have that understanding. Now, this is online. It's been a project that's been over a year. It's encompassing a hybrid book, which mainly is NCAA, because we want to align with the higher level of the sport. The highest level of our sport, softball, is college. So, talking about our first concept, that's going to be major changes coming into this year. It's going to really, really require a deep knowledge and understanding from an officiating standpoint, from not only how we're calling it and why we're calling it, but being able to articulate that to a coach, because it's going to be new for them too. And what I said yesterday in our previous clinic was, we can do everything right from the official side of, we can know the rule, we can know where we needed to be mechanically on the play, we can make the correct call, and do all those things perfectly right. But if I can't articulate to the coach when they come out and ask me a question of why I made that call, we failed. So we can do 90% of it, but if I can't articulate to the coach what's going on and what's the rule, then it makes no difference on how we just successfully did all the other steps. So, talking about a legally batted ball. A legally batted ball is a ball that's put into play illegally. I know it's redundant. That's the definition. We're talking about the two concepts of a legally batted ball are when the batter puts the ball into play, which makes contact with bat and ball, and her foot is completely outside, again, completely outside the lines of the batter's box. That makes sense to everybody at the time of contact with the bat. The second category of an illegally batted ball is when the batter, at the time of bat ball contact, has any part of her body, foot, touching the plate. So, this is different from the college rule. However, what really has changed from our standpoint at all levels, because this used to be play umpire would signal an out, dead ball, kill the play, declare the batter out. It's no longer the case. Now, we are no longer killing the play. We're going to give the delayed dead ball signal, which is the left arm extended out, and we're going to let the play continue. At the end of playing action, we are then going to give the defensive coach the option of taking the result of the play, whatever took place, or having a strike declared on the batter. So the major change is twofold. One, we're no longer killing it, we're going to let the play out. So our application has changed mechanically. Secondly, the penalty violation has been decreased to match an illegal pitch. Make sense? So, there is no requirement for us to verbalize anything. All we need to get in the habit of doing as the plate official is that once we come out of our stance, because we're not requiring anybody to verbalize, you've got a lot going on. You have potential fair or foul, catch, no catch, and we've got to continue to officiate the play.
So there's no expectation to verbalize anything, or come out of our stance and delay a dead ball and hold it. There's no reason why we can't continue to officiate and hold this for about at least 10 seconds. So everybody's on the same page of what just happened. Okay? Any questions?
Now, Austin, in regards to section 1 there, illegally batted ball, the illegal bat, basically, and I've gone back through this, goal ghost, right?
Goal goes.
Goal ghost is the main one that we're looking for. Are we stop and play right when we see it, or this year are we to, I went back, I looked back, or are we waiting till they make contact before we kill it?
So, and that's a good point and a good question, especially because we're doing this with the masses. My biggest belief, and you guys that have been on the college gyms with me, I'm a huge proponent of preventative officiating. We should be the least amount in the game as possible as officials, and if I can prevent a crack storm from coming, or if I can prevent something from happening that is going to cause me or the crew or the game issues, I feel it's our job as officials, that's what we should do. So if I know, flat out, we're not doing bat checks before the game. We don't line up the bats, we don't look at the stickers anymore, and there's a reason for that. We'll hit on that later. But I flat out know, because of its distinctive coloring, that gold ghost bat is not legal. That's the one that I flat out know isn't a legal bat. So when I see her coming out of the dugout with the bat and walking up towards the batter's box, why would I not go, hey, hold on? And I think that is our responsibility as officials, because now we have prior knowledge of an illegal equipment that's about to be used. My personal judgment, I'm not a lawyer, but part of these aspects that I have to think about is your liability as officials. If you physically see that that is an illegal bat and you have that prior knowledge that's illegal, I would argue that you have some onus in saying, I saw it, I knew it was illegal, but the coach still said it and I let it happen. I think you have a little bit of issue there. So we'll read through this. I can't skip through the beginning of the video, but we're going to talk through some of the examples. Probably a lot of you maybe have watched this already, but I want to highlight it. Hello, and welcome to another video of the Training Development Series. Today we're discovering concepts of legally batted ball and the mechanics and the rule shapes behind it. As we look at a legally batted ball, perfect game softball official rulebook, we will specifically be looking at Section 2 and Section 3. Section 2 states that the legally batted ball occurs when any part of the batter's feet are in contact with the plate at the time contact is made with the ball. For Section 3, an illegally batted ball occurs when one or both the batter's feet are on the ground completely out of the batter's box at the time contact with the ball. The effect, the plate official shall signal the delayed dead ball. The defensive coach shall be given the option to take the result of the play or having a strike charged to the batter. All base runners return to the base occupied at the time of the pitch. If this is the third strike, the batter shall be declared out. Previously, the penalty was a dead ball, and the batter can be declared out. This is no longer the case. As we look at our first example, pay close attention to the batter's left foot or rear foot from this view. In her attempt to contact the pitch, the batter moves her foot outside the batter's box and remains outside the lines of the batter's box when she contacts the pitch. Our rule differs from the college rule in stating that we have to have the entire foot outside of the lines to have a legally batted ball. College rule is simply any part of the batter's foot being outside the lines when contact takes place. As you can see from this still shot, the batter contacts the pitch with her foot partially outside the lines of the batter's box. In applying the PG rule, this would not be a legally batted ball. However, the collegiate rule, this is a legally batted ball. As we play the video, you will notice the plate umpire signal a dead ball and call the batter out. This is no longer the proper mechanic or application of the penalty. Upon judging the legally batted ball, the plate official shall signal a delayed dead ball, wait for play to end, and give the defensive team the option of taking the result of set outside of the batter's box upon contact with the ball.
Way out.
But the new rule in mechanics, play officials should signal a delayed dead ball. Let the play continue.
Yep.
And at the end of playing action, give the defensive coach the option to take the result of the play for a dead ball strike being assessed to the batter.
One thing you noticed on that last video, did you see the lines on the batter's box? Didn't see them very well, did you?
No, but
You're going to run into that a lot.
But she was
So
well out there.
with that situation, you just have to determine.
Yeah.
If it's obvious, then I'm calling.
Yeah,
If it's
that's
not
pretty
obvious, I'm
obvious,
not
yeah.
calling.
And they're a heck of a lot better than they are in the summer. In summertime, right at the first, end of the first game, you have no.
That's why she got
Hello.
her base on.
Hello.
She's so far.
Any questions about a legally batted ball? Okay, that's going to require, especially everybody in this room and then everybody that's watching this video that is veteran, have an understanding. And that's why I talked about being able to articulate rules to coaches. This is going to be very, very new for them. We're going to have that understanding. Are these concepts that we're going to be talking about happening a lot in our game? Not typically, they're the one-offs. But that's why it's so important to have that understanding and being able to explain it to a coach to where, one, you can have a great call and have all those understandings and have an angry coach. But if you can explain it and break it down for them, a lot of times they're just walking off. So we're okay, they knew what they were talking about. But you could have got the call right, you can't have an understanding and you can't explain it to the coach to where they can comprehend what's going on, then we have a bigger issue.
And the easiest call to make is the last one you saw. The one where she just steps out in front is almost impossible to call. But the verbiage on that is, Coach, her foot was completely outside the box when she made contact with him.
So, taking that same concept of application of the rule and application of the mechanic and the proper penalty is going to be applied to a runner leaving early. So, runner leaving early is no longer going to be dead ball, she left early, out. Okay? It's going to be just like an illegally batted ball, where once we view that she has left early, I'm going to give the delayed dead ball signal, and I'm going to verbalize early. I'm going to shout at everybody on my field should know that whichever girl is leaving early, they know that I've called it.
You're not talking about tagging, you're talking about.
I'm talking about when she releases before the ball.
So you're going to say,
The runner.
runner left
Runner
early.
leave early, not in contact with the base, when the pitcher releases the ball.
How many times this girl's going to stop running?
So,
Yeah.
early,
Delayed.
pitch happens, play ensues. We're going to hold this for a while, and then we're going to continue to officiate because, again, we could have something happen on the play where we've got to give another delayed dead ball signal. But the application is, again, we're going to delay dead ball, let playing action ensue, wait till playing action has stopped, and then we're going to give the defensive coach the opportunity or the option of taking the result of the play or calling the runner out.
Hello, and welcome to another video in our training development series. Today we are going to discuss runner leaving the base early prior to delivery of the pitch. As we look at perfect game softball official rulebook, the base runner is out. Then she uses a running start from a position behind and not in contact with the base to tag up on the fly ball. Ball's live, base runners may advance with liability put out. Or when she leaves the base, she is occupying. Before the pitch is released, the defensive coach does not take the result of the play. The effect is no pitch is declared, the batter is returned to the batter's box, and the offending base runner is out. Each other base runner must return to the base legally occupied at the time of the pitch. This is a new rule application. This is no longer a dead ball, but a delayed dead ball when the runner is not in contact with the base when the pitcher releases the ball. The umpire shall give the delayed dead ball signal and wait for playing action to cease. In our first example, we're going to be looking at the runner position at second base and her position at the time the pitcher delivers the pitch, or when the pitcher releases the ball from her hand.
This is a normal one that you might see. The next one that's gonna be a Steve Townsend might be able to get this one.
Got it.
As we see from this still shot, the pitcher has not yet released the ball from her hand, and the runner is clearly already a step off second base. In this play, field officials shall give the delayed dead ball signal, announce early, and wait for playing action to cease. At the end of playing action, the defensive coach will be given an option of either the result of the play or a no pitch being declared and a runner in violation being declared out. In our next example,
You might get in a situation where they throw her out at third.
Yeah.
The field official is responsible for judging if either runner the observer. It is important to note and keep in mind as we pre-pitch this as the field official that our main focus for leaving early is going to be our lead runner.
He's still got it out.
See, I think you can get that one.
In this example, let's focus in on the pitcher. Runner on second base, her position. The pitcher releases the ball.
Coach questioned me on that one, I'm gonna say, Coach, she left the base well before the ball got to the hip.
The ball is up. The pitcher's hand at the top of her rotation. And the runner on second base is clearly no longer in contact with the base. This is leaving early. As we look at our next still shot, further into the progression of the pitch, pitcher here has still not released the ball from her hand, and the runner on second is clearly left early. Finally, the pitcher is releasing the ball. There's clear space between the runner and second base. The field official shall signal a delayed dead ball and verbalize early, wait for playing action to cease, and give the defensive coach the option of taking the result of the play or a no pitch and the runner in violation being declared out. This concludes our topic video on leaving early. As always, I hope you found this video beneficial to your development of your game.
So in talking about taking the option, why that could potentially be better for the defensive coach was a situation that we actually ran into this past spring on the college field. There was 3 officials on the field, there was 2 outs, and there was runners at first. Just that was it. Those were all we runner. Well, the runner on first leaves early, so it's delayed. Signal called. Playing action ensues. The batter puts the ball in play to right field, and it's caught for the 3rd out. Normally, we wouldn't even talk to the coach. Okay, that ended the inning, right? Well, here's why that's important. The coach can choose which out they want to take on the play. And it could defensively make sense for them to take one or the other, being who they want to face next coming up in the next half inning. Because if they take the runner and the batter would be now the batter they would have to face in the coming next inning. Is if we have violations by both teams, offense and defense, we always go to the offense first. And then whatever they choose becomes the new result of the play option for the defense. Yeah. Yep.
So on the ball being early, but you have instruction. We're still going to the defensive coach?
Yes, because obstruction isn't an option play. It is a rule violation, but it's not an option play.
So you're calling obstruction, calling her safe, and then they got to choose between her safe at third or out for leaving her.
Yes.
You do legal.
Oh, did I not? Sorry. A legal pitch is your offensive option play. So I'm going to keep it very surface level from an illegal pitch standpoint. Because we have different levels of play, but the start back and step back method are both legal in perfect game, unless we have an elite event, which we're not running any of those under that division, so we're good. But what the effect is not, it's always going to be illegal, and we're going to let playing action resume. And we're going to give the offensive coach the option of whether they want to take the ball assessed on the batter, or if they want to take playing action. If she hits the ball over the fence, now we give the team the option of taking the better result of the play, which is the ball over the fence, or we have a ball assessed on the batter. So, again, Those are the two extremes of that scenario, but it makes it giving them the option of having that. So again, if we have multiple option play, we're always going to go to the offense first. They have the first choice, and then whatever they choose becomes the new result of the play option for the defense. Next. Bats, we've hit on this already on some different aspects, but if it flat out does not have any of those stamps, it's definitely not on the legal bat list. However, just because it has one of these stamps does not automatically mean it's a legal bat. So therefore, checking bats, knowing whether bats are illegal or legal, is not the onus that I put on perfect game softball officials. It is the UIC's responsibility because that list, the only place that it's posted is online, and it's constantly updated. So, if there is a illegal bat question, or they want to get the UIC, we're going to stop the clock, call for the UIC, they're going to come, we literally have the list on our phones, we're going to be able to look up the serial on the thing. It's the only way we can do it.
Are you in charge of that, Austin, putting the bats up on there?
What?
Are you in charge of putting updating the bat list?
No. Yep.
I was just going to ask you who has the most illegal bats. What maker?
This is talking about having a legal bat in the dugout area, and damaged bats. Damaged bat's an illegal bat, however, it's just the bat being removed from play. So if she comes up and she's kind of swinging it, if you can hear a clear rattle while she's just up here getting ready, we probably want to look at that bat. Okay, it's going to happen very, very rarely. But if she comes up and it's you can see kind of when she's swinging it, hey, you can have the onus to say, hey, do you mind if I check that bat? Shake it a little bit. If you have a clear rattle, let's get that bat up.
Wes.
There's no penalty.
Yeah.
However, we just want to make sure we have a legal bat and there's no issue.
What's the bat the girls hit the plate? Here's pink.
The V-Marine Prism, it sounds like it's broke, brand new.
Yeah.
So
that's
just want to clarify that. Legal game ball. For Top Gun and Perfect Game events, we supply with game balls. So the legal game ball for Perfect Game has the PG stamp on it. That being said, check balls when they're returned in from being put out of play. The little kid comes and brings you the ball. Check and look at the ball. If it clearly has blue seams, you probably shouldn't be playing with that ball. Also, one thing that was important to note that no code realized until COVID happened was no code accounted for the umpires not touching the game balls. So an illegal ball was not a concept that any code recognized. So now, we have it in our book. If you come across a ball where they bring it to you, you clearly see that it's not a legal ball. We're going to give the coach warning and just say, hey, coach, I need to make sure that this ball doesn't get brought back into me. Thanks, appreciate it. Half the time, they're not going to do it. Sometimes they may be the one handing it to you.
If they throw it back to the pitcher, you want to check it?
If it gets thrown back to the pitcher, it's not my expectation that you stop the game to check it, because a lot of times we're in pretty foul play situations where we've got balls coming in from both sides, they're wiping them off. But if we see it during play, I'm going to make sure that I'm warning the coach, or I'm throwing this ball out, and then I'll bring both coaches together and say, hey, we had an illegal ball there. It's on you guys, especially since the conditions are not playing right. But if I have that again, then whoever brings it in is going to have an ejection for sportsmanship. Okay?
And listen to it because I've had coaches throwing lunch balls.
Yep. So, legal ball, we're good there. Lineups, what I want to highlight, nothing has changed on our lineup options from last year. Okay? What we hit on yesterday was the importance of first name, last name, number, and position. And somebody commented and said, hey, can you educate the coaches more on making sure that they do this? I am fully on board with that. That is what my job is to not only educate officials, but to educate coaches to make sure that helps your guys' job. And it makes them coach better. It's better for their girls. However, I can tell you right now, in 12 years, in 3 different organizations, every year we hit on this. Every single year. And every single year it's a problem that officials don't require coaches to do this. Okay? Everybody, simple. First name, last name, number, and position. Mark it down. If they don't have it at the plate meeting, tell them that they need to get it to you when they come up to the plate. Okay? Before we end this plate meeting, have them go hand it to their wife, scorekeeper, whatever the case, give them their pen. They want to fill in the names right there, they don't. So the reason why we're still having issues because veterans aren't doing it. It's not the new people. It's all of our veterans. We don't have consistency with this at all. If we have a protest issue, which does happen, this is what we're going off of. So if I just have Jay Wallace, and there's a protest issue where $100 is being put up, and Stan's got to go look at your lineup and look at the roster online. They can have multiple people that can be Jay Wallace. We've had triplets before. That's not an exaggeration. It makes this really, really hard on what we have on the sanctity of the game.
Could we complete the play meetings, they have it not correct? Do we not start the game until they play?
So I'm not going to start calling pitches until then.
Start
But the clock's already been started because we finished the play.
Okay.
That's an expectation that they set. But however, if everybody is now doing this, it only takes so long before they all get on the same page. But the problem is well, he didn't make me do it on that field. I didn't have to do it yesterday. They're going to cut corners just like a lot of other people are going to cut corners if they can to save 10 seconds. That's 2 more balls they could have hit in the outfield before the game to make the difference between victory and defeat. Right? So make sure.
This is all organizations.
Yes. Everybody is requiring this information. Get it done, get it on your lineup. Again, nothing has changed with roster batting. You can bat everybody. You just got to have them all listed. Traditional batting, you can bat up to 11. You have 12 listed in the lineup if you have the DP flex, but only 11 batters. All your subs listed down here.
So what you're saying is if you get a lineup like that handed in to you, you give back to them, say you want positions for the
I
rest
want
of the players.
positions. Yep. Even if they go, everybody to pitch catcher down the line, it really doesn't matter because they can change that as soon as you leave the plate meeting anyway. But I want it listed. Okay? Go ahead.
Now, do you make them give you the white copy? I make them give me the white copy.
Yeah.
Because the other ones aren't.
I don't have a big issue with that at our level.
Can't see
99%
that.
of the time they give me the white copy.
I asked for one I can read.
Yeah, I just need to be the one that has the legend.
The hard one, very bottom.
Playing shorthanded. I'm going to make sure everybody's good with this. Roster batting option. Since you're batting everybody, playing shorthanded means where somebody has gotten hurt or sick and they can no longer continue the game. Roster batting. We are going to condense the lineup until we fall below 9. And you will not take it out until you fall below 9. Okay? It's roster batting. Traditional batting. The easiest way to think of this concept right here. Whatever they give me, however many number of batters they have, 9, 10, or 11, is what they are certifying they're ending the game with. Okay? So if they have 11, technically, they can drop 2 without going below 9, right? It's not the case. You can play with 1 batting position unfulfilled. So if they have 11, they don't have a sub, they have to drop 1, and they have an out in that spot. If they drop another, it's a forfeit. They don't have a sub to fill that position. Okay?
So missing 2 positions in the batting order is.
In traditional only.
Yeah.
Roster, again, they could bat 18 if they had them. We're not calling it out until we fall below them. Traditional, what you're certifying to start with is what you're certifying to end with. Make sense for everybody?
So when you have, let's say you're batting 11, they drop down to 9. It's a 4.
If they don't have, obviously, a sub to insert.
Yeah.
Everybody good there? So,
If you got an ejection, that changes.
that's good. Add shorthanded. Ejection is the only time in roster batting where we don't connect. There is going to be an out. Okay? It's the same. Here, though, ejection can be saved with sub. Can't happen in roster. Yep. Courtesy runner. Courtesy runner for roster batting option is your last available. Easiest way for both of these. In a perfect game, you always have an option as a courtesy runner. Okay? Roster batting, last available. If I wanted a courtesy run for Brittany Hilly, the catcher, I'm going to courtesy run with her for Jeremy McDowell as long as they're not on base. If they're on base, we're going to keep going. Let's say the pitcher and catcher are listed back to back. They may skip over their pitcher or catcher if they're the courtesy runner. They do not have to. They can run them. Okay? Traditional batting option, your first option is an unused substitute. Neither of these players have been entered into the game yet. They're unused, both will be eligible to courtesy run. The only caveat is that the same player cannot run for both the pitcher and the catcher in the same half inning. I'm going to get that right today, Gary. Number 13 cannot run for the catcher and the pitcher in the same half inning. Okay? If both of these players were already entered into the game, not as courtesy runners, but actually in a capacity, then we would go to last completed at that, just like we did in prospect. There's always going to be an option for courtesy runner. No change to this. Games will be 75 and 90 minutes in length. We went over the pay for those, and the run spreads for both game time limits are the same: 10, 8, 6, 4, 5. Intentional walk. Intentional walk is the exact same as it was last year. It's the high school rule where any member of the defense, coach, catcher, pitcher, can point them down. We do not throw 4 pitches. Batter hit by pitch. In summation for this, we have no requirement for the batter to avoid being hit. Okay? The only requirement is she not intentionally move to get hit by the pitch. If the batter is positioning her body where it is obscuring the strike zone, and she gets hit there where it would be a strike had her body not been there, we're going to call a dead ball and assess a strike to the batter. It's the same with if she's positioning her body in the area of the river, being between the box and the plate. She's positioning her body there. She doesn't move to intentionally get hit, but she gets hit there. We have to be absolutely certain that ball is not in the batter's box. Have a dead ball, okay? But there's no requirement for her as the batter to avoid being hit by the pitch. She just can't intentionally move to get hit by the pitch. You have to use your judgment as well, because as we know, where the batter is loading, she's going to be moving. Or when a slapper is loading, she's going to be moving in the box as well. Just because she's moving doesn't mean she intentionally moved to get hit. Use your judgment there. Use precedent of what she's done on previous pitches too to use your judgment. Aid your judgment.
A lot of times you just see him move a knee in.
Go back.
Going back through this,
No,
one thing,
they want to go back.
I want you to go back.
and we're seeing more and more of these with those wonderful arm guards that they wear.
That lean in.
They're sticking that elbow
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah.
And understand, if they stick that elbow out
Get
there,
caught on that
and it's
thing.
above the plate, if it's in the strike zone, it is a strike.
Ball strike.
If it's in the river,
Dead ball.
which is between the batter's box and the plate, which is 6 inches, you can very well have that happen. That's a dead ball. And you got, it's a situation where you got to be able to differentiate. But if it's in the box, it's a ball, and she doesn't get hit on purpose, then we're sending her. But she gets hit on purpose. But also, if she sticks it out there and it hits her in that river, dead ball, coach. It was in the river. Then if she sticks it out there, because they've got those old plastic hard things where it doesn't hurt, and it's above the plate, dead ball, strike.
So you're saying now with PG that the hands are not part of the bat, but other places are saying that.
No place says that. No place.
Hands are never part of the bat.
Yeah, never been part of
Best line ever
You heard
is,
call that.
Coach, did you buy her hands when you bought the bat?
Yeah,
No.
but you know what I'm saying.
Yes.
You heard another organization call it hands are part of the bat. So if she's swinging and if the ball hits her in the hands, you're going to call it a strike. And they said to hit her hands, so it should be a dead ball. You know what I'm saying?
Anytime the ball hits the player, we're going to have a dead ball. So what I suggest all officials do, don't get in a hurry at the decision-making process there. All this does is buy us time. Okay? We know that if the ball hits her, even if it goes into play, it's dead ball. Okay? Come out of our stand, dead ball. While I'm taking a couple of steps in the infield to make sure nobody's throwing the ball around and doing this, I'm replaying it in my mind, and I'm figuring out what I saw happen and what I need to call and what's going to happen. What is going to be my correct?
During that time, you can read that batter too.
Yeah.
You know.
I'm not going to go over too much of this. Some of this is very high level of what we've already covered. This is just a document that I put together for coaches and officials that work multiple organizations pretty frequently. But this is the high level of what major differences there could be for all those different codes and saying, hey, what are we playing by this weekend, and what's the differences between the two? Again, high level, very surface.
And to clear up any confusion I may personally have caused here, the illegal batted ball, we know what that is. If they hit it with with an illegal bat. However, you go further into the rule book, and it says once that girl steps in the batter's box with an illegal bat, she is out and she is ejected. So definitely, if she hits it with an illegal bat, then she's out, she's ejected. But once she steps in the box, it's fair game. You see it, you can call it. That's why we always talk about, if you see it before she gets in that box, get it killed and get it out of there. Okay? And then the second on multiple options, make sure you understand that the multiple options always go to the offense first. That's why we have this. I mean, I studied, I umpired just a few ball games in my lifetime, but then you start processing things, and if you have a question like we discussed, what's the first thing I did? Went right here. And I found it on page 58 about the batter stepping in the box with an illegal bat. Okay?
And the day that any of us up here, or my personal opinion is anyone, thinks that they have complete understanding of the rules, complete understanding of the mechanics, and they know it all as official, is the day that I need to hang it up. We are constantly learning. The game is constantly changing. There's totally opportunities for us to learn from each other, or from the rules and get better.
Austin, on that goal goes for,
Yeah.
in pool play, you let them play that in the morning, correct?
Not a perfect game.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's illegal right from the start.
This is one that you can make a copy of and put it in your bag. So when you go to the park, you know, okay, I'm doing perfect game today. Here's some differences I have, and it just jogs your memory.
Is that in the rule book that you put online?
Yeah. This will be something.
Good.
Next. Temporary fence. This was an issue this past year, and even previous years it kind of got sprinkled in, but it was a big issue last year. Yeah. Make it simple for everyone. If we're playing with a temporary fence, meaning it's not the hard fence that is normally out there, meaning we're probably playing on a baseball field. Usually it's open down the warning tracks. The fence doesn't go all the way to the extension of the lines. Or sometimes it doesn't even cover the full outfield. The ball goes past the fence, or it gets lodged in the fence. We're going to kill it. Even if the girl runs after it 400 feet down the line, we're killing it. All that the girls or the players throwing their hands up does for us is a visual aid in us determining the ball has now passed the fence. Because they throw their hands up or fail to throw their hands up is not what makes the ball dead. Okay? That is our onus, our responsibility. It's helpful. And here's the second thing. If I think it's questionable whether the ball's gone past, I'm going to let it go. And once I see that she clearly runs, okay, we probably this play's developed pretty far. We've spent some time. Once she's clearly passed, now we're going to kill it. The award doesn't change. It's a ground rule double, and all runners are going to advance 2 bases from the point that they were at the time of the pitch. But some people we were having some issues. I'm thinking that if they went after it, regardless of whether I knew it was gone past the fence or not, we're letting them run. It's not the case. We're killing it. All the players are throwing their hands up is a helpful tool for us, but it makes no determination on what we're moving.
We got to appreciate it.
Yes.
With a ground rule double allows every runner to advance 2 bases.
2 bases. Now, the only difference is, and it's rarely happened at our level, is if the ball goes under or gets stuck in the fence. What I will tell them is that wait, or throw your hands up, and I'm going to go out and inspect it. Okay? If the ball is actually stuck, then again, it's still the same result, the same award. But if it's just laying on the ground before the fence, and she threw her hands up, that's why we don't want to kill it in that scenario. So, all right, everybody got on temporary fence? Solid. Conduct. How am I doing on time?
You got a point.
Talking about conduct. Quick summation, I had 30 officials recruited at the beginning of last year. There were new officials that had nothing to do with softball at all. never officiated. And in auditing my roster in the fall, I only had 6 willing to return. Had nothing to do with the support that we gave them, had nothing to do with the mentors or experienced officials that I put them with, or the training that we gave them. It had everything to do with the abuse that they took out of the ballpark. My job is shifted with Perfect Game. So I oversee all of our fast pitch officiating program in the country, but my job is to help fill tournaments, help communicate with coaches. Why that is really, really key for our program is now I'm talking to the heads of the organizations on a regular basis. I'm talking to them about their teams. There's a huge difference in saying, hey, I can call up the head, Joe Shire, who's the head of Top Gun Academy, and say, hey, I'm having trouble with this coach. You may not know this. Unless there's a problem and parents have brought it to his attention, they don't know all their coaches on every given week, how they act. I can go, hey, this is going to be how this needs to happen. He's giving us a lot of trouble. Or, hey, there's 3 out of the last 4 tournaments that played with Perfect Game. He's been ejected for head conduct issues. The next tournament that they play, we can't have him coach. He can come watch, but he can coach. There's a lot of different options of what we need to do. So why I bring that up and why I bring that statistic up is because I spent all of my time last year on recruitment, knowing what the industry's situation is. But the answer isn't recruitment because we don't retain it. The answer has to be I have to fix the retention problem first and then influx with recruitment. And how that is going to be and what I pitched to Perfect Game was that the speech that you're getting right now is what I pitched. I said I'm not spending any time on recruitment this offseason. It's all on what I'm going to do for retention. So it's huge that we're using our UICs on a weekend. It's huge that you as the veterans don't allow them to take that abuse either, and we step up. But the second thing is we as veterans have to lower our threshold about 20% from a parents' and fans' perspective. Now don't mishear me in saying this is what I expect to hear every weekend. It's not it. What you're hearing from me is that we're going to handle things through the head coach and allow him or her to get control of their fans very early into the game and set the expectations again, it's polite, it's respectful, but unless we start doing this and start changing the culture all around, we're never going to retain newer, younger officials, or especially female officials, which is a priority of mine. And the second aspect is UICs have the onus, as well as me being in the ballpark, is that is what their job is going to be, is the slightest, or anytime it's raising to a certain level, or anytime you as officials have an issue that you send to the UIC, get them involved early. They can handle the problems on the outside of that fence while you officiate. And the game can continue the whole time. But then they actually get paid to do something. Let them be the bad guys. Let me be the bad guy when it's on the weekend as well. But what we can't have is running off of all the officials, and it's not just our new officials. It takes a toll on each and every one of us. It doesn't matter how long you've been doing it. The longer you've been doing it, it takes a toll on you too. So, again, what I'm saying is we're going to follow the process. I'll talk about that in 1 second, Chuck. I got you. But that is my focus this year in working with the teams, working with the coaches, and understanding that if it doesn't fall into the bucket of creating a positive ballpark experience, it has no place for us at it. Simple as that. It could be they get mad at the gate. It could be they yell at the tournament, right? Whatever the case may be. Obviously, we have customer service. We have all those concepts. It's not the first thing you say, you're gone. It's, hey, there is a level, we've got to take that level back down. And it's a societal problem. That's what it is. We're seeing it all around us. But we have to do something at the ballpark, and that's where we're sitting. So that's my mission this year. Again, shifted my focus and understanding. And what I think you're going to see when I send out the tournament listings is we're not running 5 events in a single weekend. We've consolidated our events, so that allows us to have quality in officiating. That allows me to bring up new officials and not have that stress of, hey, just go out there and figure it out. Let's do some training. Let's make sure we're having those concepts. And hey, come out here. You may work 1 or 2 games. You're going to sit here for 4, and we're going to watch games. They're going to sit with these. Does that make sense to everybody?
Makes sense.
Okay. Charles, did I answer you?
You kind of touched on everything, because I was going to tell you, this is my second year coming into your program, And you have good coaches out there that do a good job policing their fan base and this, that, and that. But then you also have some of those coaches out there that just add fuel to the fire. So it's a combination of a lot of different things. But you hit on everything that you were just talking about. As long as we can get to that, we'll be able to retain a lot of these youngsters.
I know, just like with culture and officiating, that culture is not going to be after the first term.
Right,
It's not.
exactly. It takes a minute.
It's a societal problem around the globe, especially in our country, that we're fighting against.
Yeah.
So, and it's not sports specific. It's not level specific either. So those are the aspects we have to do. But in doing this, warn, restrict, eject is what I've always expected from officials, and I think it's the best process for many reasons. However, what I want to stress is we're going to warn early. Okay, set the tone. And again, we don't have to be abrasive. We have to come from the understanding of their job is to advocate for their team. They're in an emotionally charged situation. Our job is to be the level, calm, collected, no matter what. When we have a greater understanding and respect of where somebody's coming from, no matter the issue, the result is better off. So understanding that their job is to fight for their team, to be up for their team, and have that understanding of advocate for them, okay, I have a better appreciation of what you're going and why you're saying the things you're saying, or how you're acting. However, here's how we're going to act on the field. I need you to act that way if you want to stay. And giving them the option is huge. Hey, coach, you want to be here. You're passionate about this. Obviously, I see that. But here's the problem. I need you to act accordingly, else you don't get to do that anymore. So do you want to act accordingly and coach and girls, or do you want to act inappropriately and leave? It's not even an option for you guys, right? We put it back on the coaches. You get to choose where you go. So from warning, restricted, ejected perspective, coach, this is your warning. We have to use the verbiage, warn, restrict, eject. Coach, I've heard enough. Does not resonate and mean the same thing as coach, this is your warning for sportsmanship. Coach, this is enough says, oh, I need to lay off on them for a little bit. They've had enough. Okay. Coach, this is your warning for sportsmanship. Oh, we went somewhere. They recognize that I didn't act like something, because when I talk about education and coaching, this is what I send and speak to them about. Coach, this is your restriction. You're restricted to the bench. Does not mean the same thing as, coach, go back to your dugout.
But that can all happen.
We find it humorous, because sometimes it is. But I'm going to send this to coaches too and say, coach, why this is important is, coach, this is your warning for sportsmanship. The conversation at this point can continue to take place. But this is an action step that they need to change what their behavior is. We're continuing the conversation. Coach, you're restricted to the bench. At this point, the only words that can come out of a coach's mouth is okay or yes, sir, /ma'am. Anything other than those two statements results in this. Because once you are restricted to the bench, you lose all coaching rights. Okay? If anything else, this is the ejection. We all know that sometimes you can skip straight to step 3, or it's 1 to 3. If the magic words or threat, anything like that. My challenge is to you as veterans and to you as the UICs is right here, I'm challenging you to let UIC know already. Once this happens, and I'm letting officials use your phones on field meeting, only for this reason if you have an issue. You can take your phone in the field, but if it's an issue, which we have this past year, of texting, Snapchatting, doing whatever in between innings, then there's going to be the tier issue. Okay? But my support and my dedication to protecting officials is why I want you guys to have your phone on. Okay?
Austin, with this also,
It's hard.
every level of this, you have to write on your lineup card. You have to document that you warned them and why you warned them, why you restricted them, and why you ejected them.
And here's the thing, and this is an issue at the highest level, but I didn't think until this past year, doing this for a full year, it would happen at our level, you need to be as honest in that report. By the way, take those notes. Because at every step, you've got a game to still officiate, right? You can forget what specifically the coach said. As soon as you coach, this is your warning for sportsmanship, okay? The game continues. I'm going to stop the game. Time. Walk all the way to the coach, to where we are right next to each other. Coach, this is your warning for sportsmanship. I am not shouting from behind the plate.
Yeah. Call respect.
The only person that knows what's going on being said is me and whoever I'm speaking to. And then, once I walk away, I'm going to take out my lineup card holder if I'm the plate umpire, or I'm taking out my game card if I'm the field official. And on the back of the card, I warned head coach of this team first inning for sportsmanship. Okay? If there was a bigger restriction or objection, or there was a specific thing that they said that led them to that, I'm going to say, he called me a jerk face, end quote. Because you're going to have to tell your UIC, and I want to hear about it, because that way I can do my work on the administrative back end to make sure you're supported appropriately. And Charles Banks is a prime example of this, is he had an issue with the coach. And why I want to highlight this is you need to be as honest. Take your emotion out. What happened? What did you say? What did they say? Or what happened? What did you do? Because now your games are being filmed. I got sent film from this and it was crudely important that Charles was as honest with what happened, because even though I had no volume, what the coach claimed happened did not happen in the video at all. And the team is what sent it in to me. And so when I got the report from Charles and I got the report and the email from the team, usually that's all I get face value. But on top of that, now I've got video. That's why it's so important. So even if you said, hey, Austin, I ejected him too soon, I should have restricted him, I lost my cool. Or hey, I got a little flamboyant, or I raised myself up a little on the level, or I said something I shouldn't have, Austin, you need to know this. I can't support you fully if I walk in blind.
Right.
And my job is to support you fully, at all levels that I work. But if I don't know the full story, it makes my job really, really hard to support you to the fullest. And I will fall on every sword for you that I can. Those that have been around me plenty know that that's pretty much all I do. But that's where I lie on the situation. So.
But you gotta tell your UIC.
Yes.
And then if we don't come in, still shoot him a text, or if he's not at the ballpark, call him and tell him so he's not blindsided.
And why that's so important, even if we have an ejection and following those 3 steps, it makes that conversation out to the ballpark, out to the parking lot, real simple. And here's how that goes for me. Is, Coach, what happened? As we're walking. Coach, what happened? Okay, they did this. I said, well, what did you say? Or what did you do? They tell me. Okay, then what did the umpire do? Well, then they said I was warned. Okay, now that's my red flag, check mark. Now I go, okay, then what happened? I continue talking. Okay, then what happened? Then I was restricted to the bench. Check mark. What did you do once you were restricted? I kept talking. Well, you can't talk after you've been restricted. They should have ejected you. Makes that really conversation simple. Have a great day. You're suspended for 1 game, and I'll see you for the 3rd. But equally as important, if I go, hey, Coach, what did you say? I said that they needed to call it both ways. Then what happened? Then they ejected me. Did you get warned at any point? What do you mean? Did they say that this was your warning for sportsmanship? No. Okay, did they restrict you to the bench and say, hey, Coach, you're restricted to the bench? No. Now that's a red flag. I've got to have a conversation and follow up with you guys. That's why all this is so important. So, Gary, do you mind talking about this a little bit real quick?
Are we warning coaches about parents?
Yes. So if everybody didn't hear it, just for the video, the question was, are we warning coaches about parents? And the answer is yes. There could be 50 to 100 parents at a ball game. I'm not, and my job is not to babysit them. When I ask the head coach, or whoever the head coach is at the plate meeting, are you the head coach of this game? Yes. They are going to be the responsible party for all members of their team on and off the field. All communication is going to go through them. That's why I'm not going to sit back and talk to the fans, because then I'm going to have to warn them. There is no warning for fans. It warns the coach. Coach, I'm having a problem with the fan. I'm going to need you to get a hold of the situation. That's how that first step works for me. I don't, and that's where it's kind of like a baby warning. Is the fans are giving me a trouble, and the coach is a peach. I give them the opportunity first. Okay? That's your one get out of jail free. Me personally, don't have to do it that way. But I think that's the best method. Fans problem, coach is a peach, I'll go up to that coach. Hey coach, you've been great all game. I love that you're working for me. Can you help me a little bit with your fans? I need you to get them a little bit under control, get them riled back a little bit, and we're going to continue to have a great game. Cool. That's not a warning. I'm going to let him or her go take care of it for me. And hopefully they do. If they don't do it or it becomes a further problem, I'm going to take the action steps toward the head coach. Coaches don't want to get ejected, but they surely don't want to get ejected for things that they didn't do.
And you can simply go to that coach and say, you know, the guy in the blue sweatshirt, I need you to get him quiet.
Yeah.
And then the next time, I need that guy from the blue sweatshirt gone.
But if you hear the magic words, you can go tell the coach.
Yeah.
He needs
And here's the thing.
Yeah.
And that's a great important note there. I hear the magic words behind me and I have a good idea who it says. I don't want to go, you sir, I heard that. You're out of here. That made a spectacle in front of everybody.
Right.
And I could have gotten the wrong person.
Right.
Call time, walked up to your head coach and said, I heard the F word and I'm pretty confident it came from the guy in the blue shirt. I need you to take care of that, meaning he needs to leave. They're either going to do it for you or they're going to come off with some weird spicy comment, and then we're going to take action against the coach because we're enlisting them as an advocate for us.
They'll say, it's not my responsibility to take care of these fans.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Your
it is
team.
100% responsibility.
As far as approachability, we talked a lot about this. You know, it comes down with treat others the way you want to be treated.
Right.
You also understand that we're professionals. You also understand that these coaches are probably, could possibly be dad or mom of one of the, most likely going to be dad or mom of one of the players. So they're going to have a little emotion invested in the game. If we can take the emotion out of the side of it, and as Austin has said multiple times, be the professional, take a deep breath, but make sure that we have a decorum on that field that is appropriate for young ladies. That's what we always need to think about. Is this appropriate for young ladies? Are we teaching them the right thing? And if you can do that, then it'll go smooth. Start early in a situation. You can give them the stop sign. I've given them the stop sign, coach. I've had enough. And that doesn't have to be a warning. But you, the coach, I've already told you now that's a warning. Okay? You're not questioning balls and strikes. You know, again, come back and have that conversation. Think about the way you talk to them. Are you calm? Are you barking at them? Are they barking at you? You know, it also helps you when a coach is barking at you and you can say, Steve, that's not going to be okay. You know that. You know, because that makes that coach look like a heel. But when I start saying, I've had enough of you, shut your mouth.
Yeah,
How many of you want to say it? How many of you have said it? I've said it multiple times.
Say a lot.
Say it more times than that. Then you start thinking about, how am I approaching that coach? Am I approaching that coach when he comes to me and I have my arms crossed? Do I have my hands on my hips? Become approachable where you look like you're calm. Try to present yourself to look like you're calm. And you know, sometimes I'm going to walk away, and if Steve is on the field with me, I'm done, and I've warned him, I'm going to walk away. What's that cue when I walk away from that coach?
They were done.
And I'm done.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm done talking
I'm
to
not
him.
talking to
So
him
the
anymore.
next time I have a conversation with him, it's not going to be right.
No.
So if Steve's out there, he's probably walked himself a little bit closer to me anyway. And then he may walk into that coach and say, Coach, he's done. You might want to get back to your box. You know, we do it in basketball all the time. All the time. You know, I talk to the coach. I'm going to move on. Then my partner's coming across and he's taking care of it. That works in softball as well. Calm, cool, and collected. You know, be nice. Just be nice and be the best you can. But when it comes time to take care of business, take care of business. You know, and do it in a manner where you're in charge and you're the professional. Anything else on that officer?
No, I think the big part of it is if you guys have seen Roadhouse, what does he tell him?
Yeah.
Be nice.
You're not-
So it's time to not be nice.
So it's time to not be nice.
At the end of the day, the minute or the second that we stoop to their level or rise to their level, we lose. It doesn't matter what they did wrong or what happened, we have lost. We are the ones being paid to do a job, adjudicate this game as fairly as possible, and get out of here without bias.
And how many times do you want to be that person, and you have to take that deep breath and say, I'm going to take care of this the right way, you know. And taking care of this the right way doesn't mean you don't warn, restrict, or eject. Or taking care of this the right way doesn't mean when the coach says one of the magic words or becomes personal with you that you don't send them. Taking care of it the right way means that you do it in a respectful manner.
A lot of times the coach will come out just to blow off steam, okay? And you'll know when they're coming out just to do that. So let them vent for a little bit, and then if they don't ask a question, then you send them back. Okay, coach, I listened to you. Now it's time.
Yeah, but they can't come flying out.
No, but a lot of times they'll come out, call timeout, and say,
Yeah.
Steve.
Yeah, that's fine, yeah.
And you get this right here.
If he does
Here
that,
it comes.
if he calls timeout and steps out and wants to vent a little bit, okay, I'm gonna sit there and listen. But if he comes flying,
that's 6'4",
yeah, but if he flies out of that dugout without no timeout, I'm gonna say, back in there.
Here's the thing.
Hey, just so we all can be on the same page. This brings up great situations to talk about because we're not all veterans, okay? There's an appropriate process for them to come talk to you. And I educate them on that.
Right, it's meeting.
And we have to follow that and have that expectation that they follow that.
Right.
So if they come running out of the dugout and neither official has been granted time to them, we are fully within our rights to throw them out of the game. They cannot do it. And I'm fine with that because what that has shown, because that's becoming a problem at our level, is that there's no respect on the field and that you think that you can run out and approach me in a volatile manner.
It's aggressive.
Exactly. So why I'm saying normally I would be all the proponent of coach. I'm big about let's follow process. I'm a big process person. That's just who I am. If you umpire with me, that's who I am.
Right.
Let's do it this certain
Right.
way. I'm going to make them follow the certain way too. So I used to be, coach, I get it, but I'm going to need you to go back to your dugout, call time, and handle this the right way. That was my old way. I've seen too much in the media, and I see too much at our level to where I don't feel confident in that's not going to continue to be a problem until we do something about it. So again, I'm fully, if you are the official that chooses to do that, because I think that kind of embarrasses them when we make them go do it all over again.
Oh, okay.
And that's what I think I thought that used to work. But now, I'm not seeing a change in behavior. I'm seeing it get worse at our level, at the tournament ball level. They can't come flying out of the dugout without calling time.
Yeah, you've seen us all, and most of
Yes.
us veterans give that speech at the
Yes.
coaches meeting. Please wait for the ball to get in the circle. If
And
you
here's
have a
the thing.
question, call timeout.
That speech the coaches meeting, they're not listening. We're going to talk about run rules, game time, and if there's any special rules that we need to handle, and who's the head coach, and are all your ladies legally and properly equipped. Outside of that, they don't listen to us at the coaches meeting. They don't. I used to say the same spiel. They don't. Their job is to go win a ball game. That's what they're concentrated on. And they really don't want to listen to any more that we have to say.
I got you.
So if coach flies out of the dugout without calling time first, and it is volatile or aggressive or anything like that falls in one of those categories, they're just running out on the field at you, coach, you're gone. I'm not going to go, Wes is running at me right now out of the dugout. Like that, no. I'm going to let them get there. But my partner, and this is why I want to bring this up, I want to see more of it at our tournament level, is we've got to work together as a partnership to handle issues. We're leaving each other on islands, and we're not getting involved. Don't mistake that we should never double up with coaches. but we shouldn't let a partner get doubled up by coaches either. So in that situation, when their coach is coming out, if I'm the field official and for some reason my plate official, they're running out there and they haven't called time, I'm already starting to walk. Like, let's try and get this under control to where there's another body and a set of eyes and we're into your shot. Let's say that they're not flying out of the dugout and they just want to question a call and they're having an issue. We're going to go about 10 minutes over, but we're on a really good topic that I want to hit for people, so hopefully everybody's okay with it. They come out and they're talking to my plate official about an issue. Okay, I'm in the field. I don't have any responsibilities right now. Should I just be off wandering and looking at clouds, thinking about what I'm going to eat for dinner? No. They could be having a serious problem up there, but I don't know it. Right. And if it turns south, I'm over 100 feet away. Okay? One, if he's talking to the head coach, plate official's talking to the head coach, and assistant coaches are starting to make their way down because they want to voice their opinion. What my responsibility is to head off the assistant coach. I'm going to walk up with them and say, hey, coach, we're going to let the head coach handle it. All right, come on with me. No, I'll talk to you about it. Like, I didn't see it. Like, we're going to diffuse that to where they can still handle their business because we weren't involved in that play at the time. They haven't indicated, or there's no indicators that I need to get involved in that conversation. I'm going to head the other coach off and diffuse that situation. Okay? If there is an extended conversation between the other official and a coach, I'm going to start making my way in after about 30 seconds. Okay? We're only going to delay the game so long. By the time that I get there, I'm going to start coming into the infield if I'm the field official. Okay? Right. That way I'm at least within earshot of what's going on. That way I can have an opinion of what I see as well. I can see, and they can indicate to me if they think that I need to get involved in the situation. Once I see it's gone past a certain time, or it's escalating, in my opinion, to a certain level, I need to start coming in. Okay? Because, yes, we're going to act professionally, but we don't want to sit there and just take the abuse the whole time. It's not our job to shoulder that. At some point, it turns into, we're no longer talking about a question or a rule. Now it's turned into sportsmanship. Okay? Well, our job is going to come in and say, Coach, do you have a question about, whatever the case may be, sometimes it may be, there's some confusion about a rule. Once I get there, I'm like, hey, Gary, what are we talking about here? If it's cat. Hey, well, we've got this situation. Well, I may either offer insight or, we need to get the UFC. Second thing is if it's conduct, hey, I need to go and separate this playing action when I'm receiving indicators or the game has been delayed for too long. And what that allows our other official to do is to now walk away and get space. This could be just on a warning. We've just delayed the game for too long, right? Hey, Coach, we're going to walk them back to their dugout. Okay? Then they got to sit there. They got to stand there. We get to walk off. But we need to do a better job of either intercepting coaches or being within earshot of what's going on with our partners and coaches.
Sean, that's your pregame? Talking with your partner?
Yeah.
I tell him, hey, if I turn my back on that coach, I'm done talking. Come and get him.
And what that looks like is we're not going to touch them. We're not bumping them or getting in between them in any way, anything like that. I'm just going to get in front of them. Hey, Coach, you go back to the dugout. Hey, I didn't have an opinion of that play either. I thought it looked close, blah, blah, blah. Hey, but I need you back here. And we're the whole time walking them back the whole time. Okay?
And there's so many different ways to handle it. Austin has his way. I have my way. Steve has his. Everybody has their own way. Understand what are we trying to do? Trying to control the situation in a calm, respectful manner.
As long as you stay calm, they'll eventually come down from the hiatus.
Austin probably doesn't do that. I do. I write down their first name at the plate, okay? And if it comes to that, I say, hey, Austin, we need you to come out. He's already explained it to you 2 or 3 times. Let's go back to the dugout. Okay? A lot of them say, Coach, use the word coach. I just feel that, hey, if I call my first name, and it's nothing personal, just
No. An important note to highlight that we highlighted yesterday. We work with newer officials, younger officials, and we're veterans. There's something to be learned from everyone, like we said. Everybody in this room and everybody watching has a different personality. So just as you have a different personality, you have a different form of officiating and what you bring out there. I've seen extroverts that are complete introverts on the field, and then vice versa. I've seen people that are extremely assertive people not be assertive at all on the field and fall back into that shell. You have to play to your own strengths and understand what those are, and understand what your weaknesses and opportunities for improvement are. And why I bring this up is I actually saw for the first time this last year was I had a younger official that was trying to learn their style, right? They're trying to understand what their strengths are. They're still learning and developing and being put with different people. And we said, hey, you learn something from everyone. So they tried developing different techniques. And for some reason, this official that was paired with a very large or assertive individual, it didn't work for them. It just didn't work in their application of it. And that's perfectly fine. They tried it. But they stuck with it, and it flat did not work. And coaches didn't respond well. And it was nothing against them, but I bring this up because we all try different things and understand, but understand that the same thing that works for me doesn't work for Kai Lane, who is a female and about this tall. And the same thing that works for Gary, because of his personality, isn't necessarily the same thing that works for me. So understand what you bring to that table, understand what your strength is on the field, and play that. As well as if there's opportunities for improvement or growth, be prepared to take on some of those things or try things. These are the things, these are the opportunities for in-between games. These are things for pre-game. How would you handle this? Like, we don't always get these situations where we can practice frequently. We hope we don't. But do we want our first time experiencing them to be the first time we thought about it? In anything, whether it's conduct, whether it's weird plays, positioning. The first time that happens, that's hopefully not the first time we thought about it happening to us. I went a whole different way there, but I'm really happy where I landed on it. So,
Right.
that was, I came full circle there. All right, ejection reporting. We went over the ejections, why it's important. I need to hear about it, and UIC needs to hear about it, and we need to make it official. Because again, if I'm having recurring issues with coaches, I can make a difference if I know about it. But if I don't ever hear about it, or if I hear about it this one time, and then this other official has another problem with the same coach, but they didn't report it, I can't do anything on my end to fix the culture. It all fits into each other. So,
As a site director, I get the report that I had to fill out also.
Yep.
So if I even hear something going on, then I also include it in mine to help you guys out, because it's going to go to the office, and it may go to somebody else in the office, like Dan or somebody, and I'll put it in there to verify what's going on, so that way we're covering you too.
And that's the second concept is backing you guys up. Even if the coach doesn't email, they're emailing in to say, hey, they had this issue. We had an issue, just to make you aware. So then they say, I go up, we have Monday morning meetings just to cover everything from the weekend. Hey, what's our action steps? And they go, Austin, we had 2 ejections at Martin Park. Can you give us any background? Well, did you get stuff from coaches? No, our site director said that. I didn't get anything. And also, my UICs have to do the same thing. They are supposed to give me a report at the end of the weekend or the end of the day if they have an issue. And give me a summary. Hey, all officials showed up on time, everything went smooth, didn't have any behavioral problems, good to go. It could be 3 sentences. If there's an issue, then it could be more. But again, it all feeds back Stan from what Stan said is having us prepared and understanding. And if I have a problem with the coach, I call that coach. I'm like, hey, what happened? Hey, you know you can't act like that. Can I go to your job and act like that? But they are just as much advocates for officials as we are. We have to have them on our side. UIC ruling process, not going deep. What I say with this is, I offer it anymore, especially as a veteran. It's not an onus or a slap on me. I'm here to get the game over quick, right? If a coach is not understanding after the second time I've explained a rule to him or why we gave a call, hey coach, would you like me to get the UIC? Because it could be you're explaining everything right. But guess what? Sometimes people take things, same information, differently with some people. And they are in a perceived position of authority and perceived understanding of the rules. They come out there in their polo and they handle the situation.
Plus, they've had time to cool off too.
And you get to now continue officiating. That conversation can be taking place. We're getting that game time rolling again. We're playing ball. So anytime that the coach wants the UIC, or you offer it and they want to get the UIC, we're going to stop the clock, and then we handle that process. At that point, it's the UIC's show on how they handle that. Okay? Their job is to support you. As soon as they get the information from you, that's where your job ends. They get to go be the bad guys. What I don't want to see is you follow them to the coaches, and then they're explaining to the coaches. Nothing good comes from that. They're your advocate. They're the final brunt of everything. So, next.
And we're going to handle it a little differently. You know, I had a situation last year where a coach was ejected, and we got the coach out away, and we were slowly meandering away from the game, and there was no communication, nothing. But I was working with the coach to get him out of there because it was late in the tournament, and one of the officials got upset because I didn't get him out of there fast enough. Well, once I intervene, then it's on me. You go ahead and take your field as long as they're not interjecting. And if you have a question, let me know. But you understand what I'm saying. Once we take the charge and you toss them and we intervene and we get them, then we're going to be in charge of what we're going to do. Because I'm trying to help this coach get calmed down and leave the facility in a respectful manner, in a manner that he's still appreciative of our services, which sometimes will work.
We talked about your game partner. Pre-pitching. This is something that I want to just talk about in aspects of, especially in the field official. What we just hit on when I went on my long full circle of that shouldn't be the first time we thought about this situation happening to us. This is where this comes from. When we're actually out on the field, in between pitches, what's our thought process? What's our routine? What are we thinking about? What can we do pre-pitch in between innings? In between innings isn't just the time when we go get a water and then we're just waiting for the next pitch on the real game. That's not what in-between innings should be. In-between innings as a field official, I'm out there and I'm timing throws. I'm watching the throw from the shortstop over. I'm watching all of those concepts. And then once I get runners on, hey, what's the play right now that's going to catch me on the most off guard? That keeps your head engaged so you're not singing songs to yourself out in the field. And so that play that is obscure, or that mechanic that we're going to have to pull off that's obscure, doesn't catch us off guard. It keeps us in the game, and it helps better our understanding of the game in the long term. That's the best concept that I say is really undervalued, especially at our level, behind the plate. I'm thinking about if I've got the batter and I've got a runner at second base, oh crap, if she puts the ball into play and it gets past the infield, I got to make sure that I've got to cover third for a potential throw over there. All the while I'm going, okay, she's there, oh, pitch, okay. Every pitch, all those concepts. Think about it. There's no right, wrong. Hey, how deep are my outfielders if it goes over my head to where if I'm the field official, I know if that ball's getting caught. It went boom, boom. I'm pretty confident that went over her head. Now I'm just going to my next position as opposed to having to turn, peek. Now I'm already late. All these things just makes you a better and higher level. All right. I ended on a high note every time. Harassment, sexual and otherwise. Old. Harassment in any form. Any of the top, any of the protected stages. You do this long enough, and I'm happy to say that some of the best people in my life are officials that I've made along the way, and they're very, very good friends of mine. How I interact with them at the ballpark or on the field is very, very different than how I would interact with them off the field. But also now, understanding, yes, you are contractors, but in working for Perfect Game and working for me, you agree to all this. So not only is it applied to the children that we officiate, the coaches and fans we interact with, but also our partners. Okay? Why I stress this is we've actually had issues this year that I have to deal with. I don't put up with any of these. I can make a joke at Steve based off of different things because that's what we do. But it has nothing to do with how he's going to take me personally as his employer or as his friend. He's going to give it right back to me because I have red hair. Okay? But what I'm saying is we have to be hyper aware in our situation of who we're interacting with, but also understanding that we can't say whatever we want or do whatever we want when we're at the ballpark, even though I'm with a friend. Or I could possibly, it even extends to our significant others we're seeing more in officiating in partnerships. It's not okay. I can't tolerate it. I won't. This comes from different organizations where that was not a priority and didn't get taken serious.
Know your audience, and your audience is anybody that can hear or see what you're doing.
And the final thing is anything that is reported is the action steps if it happens on a weekend, meaning we're at a ballpark. My action step would be first, consider reporting it to your UIC. If you don't feel comfortable reporting it to your UIC, then you come directly to me. If it obviously is something that occurs outside of the playing area or while we're at the field, so meaning text, conversation, phone call, then you need to come directly to me.